Northwest Art Alliance offers you this tip of the iceberg video production and is intended to pique your curiosity about art in small communities throughout the Pacific Northwest. Connected to Anacortes, Washington by a 20-car ferry, the short journey brings you to the creative community of Guemes Island, where the diversity, range, and depth of creative energy is inspiring. The creative spirit flows across the island with art tours, functional creations, and high-quality art. Awareness of the art blossomed in 2020 with the establishment of the Guemes Island Art Initiative, which strives to bring visibility to art and artists of all ages on Guemes Island. Northwest Art Alliance selected this location as the first in the small community focus that has continued to grow and attract interest. With more than 100 creative artists across the island, about half share their work in public events, and others gain personal satisfaction from the artistic process. Diversity of art is one thread that connects them all. We will introduce you to just a few of the island artists, capturing the diversity of media utilized and focusing on one of their techniques or special skills.
My name is Donna McCord. We're here at the Beacon Glass Center, which was opened in 2019, founded in 2017, and it's a glassblowing studio that's focused on being a rural arts organization and how that contributes to the area. We focus on teaching kids and having community events that bring people together. The project I've been working on recently is called the Cedar Berries, and it's a project at the Dogwoods Park on Guemes. And we were aspiring to make glass that would look like things we'd found in nature. Like when the sap will be hanging off the edge of a tree and catching light, you know, that drip of color on the edge of a tree was really what brought us to this design. When we were making the cedar berries, we added ashes to the glass of our dogs, and the pieces took on an additional layer of being memorial pieces as well. It's a place where people go and walk their dogs, and having part of their dog there to kind of deepen that sense of memory and connectedness with the land was really important. It's meant to emulate a cathedral. The space in the park is called Inky's Cathedral, and that would inspire people to keep going out to the park and keep walking. And so the glass is now hanging in 4 trees. There's about 20 pieces. And I believe when we invest in grieving consciously, we can live more consciously. And so that's one of the missions that I have here. I feel very proud to be a part of the Guemes art community. And, you know, I had a sense of belonging in the larger glass community. And now I feel like we're really striving to have a sense of community on Guemes as artists. The artist initiative on Guemes has been a way to cultivate community for sure.
Well, my name is David McKibben, and I live on Guemes Island, Anacortes address, but we're about a mile off Anacortes, so a 5-minute ferry ride. So it's a very quiet island, about 8 square miles. I think about 1,000 people live here full time. In the summer it doubles. We get a lot of people with they're weekenders, and people having guests coming because they want to visit the little island. So it's pretty quiet over here. We've got eagles flying over us and deer in the yard. And, so I've been doing a lot of work with the Madrona and different shapes and sizes of bowls. Starting to do some wood burning again. Pretty much the last year just turning Madrona. There's a lot of wood out there that is laying on the forest floor. It's a matter of finding it and then getting it out to where you can work on it. But I was very lucky that we have a neighbor up the street who has several acres on the hill. He's got a lot of Madrona that's been down and laying down for who knows how long. Some of it's been down for 4 or 5 years. Some of it's been down for, I'm sure, 10 or 12. So I've been using that, and it's gorgeous wood to work with. Madrona, when it's fresh, is pretty unstable. It warps really easy, and it's nothing particularly attractive about the color. It's kind of an ivory color. When it's been down and dead for a while, it changes into these beautiful shades of browns and sometimes a little bit of amber, and it stabilizes. It doesn't warp any longer. So it's been fun to work with, and a lot of people here are really like the Madrona because it's from the island. So this is the faceplate that's basically screwed to the center of the piece of wood. Now this has been on the lathe already, and I've made it round. When we started, it was like this. I scribe a circle, cut it out with a bandsaw, so I end up with a round piece. Then that goes on to the lathe, much as this one is, except this is the reverse. So that goes on the lathe with a faceplate, and we turn the outside. I turn the outside, and I cut in the bottom a tenon, which is basically this part here, and it's slightly angled in so that when I'm done with the outside of the bowl and I'm happy with it and it's all sanded down in the shape I want, then it comes off the lathe, faceplate comes off, and then this goes on to this jaws, which is what this piece is on like right now. And then I can do the inside. So I turn the inside out and get it to the shape I want, and then you do some final sanding on it and embellish it if you want. I've burned in a couple of lines on this one at high speed with a wire using friction, and finish it up with an abrasive paste, and then I clean that off with some lacquer thinner and apply 2 or 3 coats of a clear spray lacquer. Is what I've been using for most of the bowls, which is food safe and just adds a nice layer of protection to it. So.
My name is Karen Lamphere, and I do wet cyanotype for my art. And I've been doing it for a couple years, self-taught from YouTube and Google. It's a perfect art form for me. I think it's just the combination of it's the color blue, which is my favorite color. It involves plants, which I love. It involves nature, which I love. It involves walking and hiking. All of those things are my thing. And then just the serendipity, I love that. And so it's just got all the elements that made it really intriguing for me to keep going and to keep experimenting. You never know what you're going to get for the final product. It's just always a surprise when you rinse the print. And on Guemes, we have a lot of forests and nature and a lot of things growing. And so spring and summer are when things are growing the best, and there's sunshine. I have a pretty big garden. I like to choose plants that have a lot of interest, you know, like ferns are really nice and things that have cool shapes. So I start with laying out a piece of glass and then another piece that'll go on top like that. So you mix these 2 chemicals together in equal amounts. Then I just take a foam brush and I brush the chemical on, and then I let the paper dry. Usually I use watercolor paper because it has to stand up to washing it. You want to work fairly quickly. It's UV light that exposes the chemicals, and it's not sunny today. So then I just make a little arrangement. And you know, you want some open space because we're going to add water, vinegar, and soap suds, and that will create interesting textures. I start with spraying some water here. And then I have apple cider vinegar. So just give that a spray. And then soap suds. Generate some suds, and then I just spoon them on there. I mean, you never know how it's going to turn out. You cannot control this process at all. I could do 2 of the exact same things with, you know, coated the same time, same design, same paper, same everything, and they'll turn out completely different. I mean, completely different. It's kind of astounding. And then you squish it with another piece of glass. You can see the bubbles. You can still see the bubbles in there. and then you want to clamp it. And that ensures good contact of the plant with the paper so that it makes a nice clean impression. If it was a sunny day, we would take it out in the sun and expose it for anywhere from an hour to 5 hours to overnight. You can kind of watch it change. It'll change dramatically from the time that you put it into the sun. It'll first kind of wash out and you might not see a lot of color. And then an hour later, you'll see all these different shades of blue come out. And then you'll see, the bubbles will make themselves evident. But the cyanotype is just one of those things that has really grabbed me, and I love it. And that's what makes you want to just keep doing it. When you just really feel a passion for it. I've never considered myself talented at art. I can't draw. I can't paint. I just never even really tried to do anything art-wise, because I thought, I'm just not an artist. So I am shocked that I'm actually in a studio art tour and I'm selling things that people like. And I would have never dreamed it in a million years.
My name's Susan Brendan, and I'm a jewelry artist. I make all of my jewelry. I put something from the beach in every piece that I make. I also make sun catchers and ornaments and home decor items. First of all, I go to the beach and I comb the beach for items that I want to use. I find agate and jasper and shells and driftwood and all sorts of beautiful stones. And I bring them back and I tumble them in a rock tumbler, not the shells, the glass just a little bit, and the agates and stones probably for about 3 weeks before they're smooth and nice and ready to go. Then I drill the pieces that I'm going to drill so I can, drill the tops so I can make the jewelry. Sometimes I wire wrap them, add all sorts of pretty sparkly things and put something, together to make it pretty. Every piece is different. I don't make anything twice. So everything you buy from me is unique, inspired by nature and all the colors in nature. And that's where I get the ideas for the pieces. So there's beautiful views, nice to look outside. I go for a walk and then I find ideas there. You find different things at different times of year. The little seashells are mostly in, I found these little tiny shells mostly in March, April, and when. And it depends on the weather. If there's a storm and it washes a lot of new things up on the beach. And I had a favorite set of dishes and they started to chip after quite a few years. And so I broke those and throw them in a tumbler. And they're really pretty. I sell a lot of jewelry made out of that. Everything is special about this island. And I think it's especially the people here. They're amazing. Yeah, it's wonderful. There's so many artists here. And just getting to know them and, just talking about art and go into that. They have a thing called drop-in painters. And we get together and paint. And they have fiber artists. There are all sorts of artists that meet in groups. It's a great place for art.
Hi, my name is Lowell Linda Bird, and I'm an artist here on Guemes Island. For a long time, I did hair, makeup, and special effects in Hollywood, and for the last 10 years, I've been creating light parades, which is another show in itself, but you get to be part of it. So this is Reed. It comes in very big rolls. It comes in a wide variety of width. So you can see that this is thicker than this little skinny one here. And that's because the simpler the design, the smaller the reed. The larger the design, the stronger the reed needs to be to hold its shape and perform well. So these are ones that I use on the larger luminaries. So we build the frame first with hot glue and tape, basically, just to get it started. And then once they have their shape made, then they start papering it. And the papering process will help strengthen and tighten all of these joints that they have created. And they will put on 2 coats. So one whole coat and then another whole coat. And you have to remember to leave a spot where you put your hand in and put your light in and have a way to hold it. And then it will end up looking like this if you're making a star. And they're very strong. This sea turtle's name is Miss Blue. And the next one will have a name involving the color green. And the third one is a surprise, so I'm not telling anyone what color it will be. So we take tissue paper and we take glue, white glue, usually Elmer's. And I'm going to come back here actually because this is the one I'm working on. And we will just take the polymer, we put it on. So this would be the fourth layer to this. It has 2 layers of tracing paper, a layer of unrayu, and now we're doing the decorative papers. And I don't want them to look perfect. I like them to have a balanced unbalance. It just makes it much more interesting to look at, especially at night and way up in the air. And so I just take this little brush and cut out the pieces while I'm watching TV, and then I have a bunch of pieces to come back and work with. I think that's important to be able to teach about nature and teach about wildlife, and at the same time have a bit of whimsy in what you do. It makes it appeal to a broader range of people, and you are able to discuss more conversations with it. And then this will dry, and when I get done with all the icing, such like this, on all the different flippers and the underneath, then I will let it dry for about 5 days, make sure it's really solidly dry, and then I will start glossing it. And that's when it becomes magical, because it's kind of shiny and it'll look like it's underwater with that sheen, and it'll become a real tortoise. I love this planet. I love people, and I think we all need to reach out and do everything we can to protect wildlife, to protect children, to protect our waters, protect our skies, because if we don't, it's not going to get done. So incorporated in my art are the messages of protecting wildlife, like this snow leopard here, or the fish, or other birds, or other wildlife. To have a parade that is inclusive. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, who you are, whether your hair is blue, green, red, or purple. Everybody's invited to come and walk with me and celebrate the earth. It's a very inclusive art form. That's me. A luminary is a person who inspires or influences others, especially one prominent in a particular art. A leading light, an inspiration. My art encourages creativity and brings light to shine in the darkness. I believe we need to be the light, inspiring new ideas as we come together on Earth Day and every day wherever you are.
My name is Les Elkema, and I am the maker of Up a Creek paddles. And the reason I named it Up a Creek is I live on Guemes Island, and one of the frequent questions that people ask any Guemes Islander is, what do you do when the ferry breaks down? And I said, well, pretty much we're all of the same mind, we're up a creek. I repurposed canoe paddles and recycled art into maritime art that you see around my shop. The paddles, they take on a different life when I put metal on them and when I paint them in different ways. And I just really enjoy doing it. The reason I went into metalworking is I was never able to take metalworking classes in high school. And I always envied the people that took shop, but I always had to be on the college prep type of a path. And when I retired, a friend of mine and we took the welding class from Skagit Valley College. They had openings for seniors if there was not enough students in a particular class to fill it. So for $45, I learned how to weld, and that was just the most fun I had in retirement. I think the thing that I enjoy most is metal has a mind of its own when it comes to how you can manipulate it. And I like to figure out ways to just change the look of metal and work with metal rather than work metal. The first thing that I do is I find a paddle that doesn't have knot holes in it, and I did this with stencils and got it all laid out, got it embossed. And then what I'll do is I will, in this case, I'm going to use a brass piece of flashing that I've used the bead rollers on to gain the embossing. And I've also put it in ammonia for a number of minutes, and that's where I get the patina. And patina is nothing more than painting with chemicals. And I've put very strong double-faced tape on the back of this to secure it in place while I work on it. One thing that I found is that you always make 2 or 3 of these pieces at a time, because usually if you create one and you want to match it, you can never do it. It's a chemical process that has its own mind. It's controlled by the temperature in the room and also the humidity. It's not an exact science as far as matching it. Then what I do is I take my carpet stapler, secure it. I've chosen to wrap this one in steel. This is wire that I've straightened out. This is what I mean by patina. This is changing the chemical composition of the metal. You know, basically it's a form of rusting it. We call it rusting, but it's oxidation. I do all 4 of them at the same time, because if I wait until after lunch and come back and do it, it's going to change. It might not get as brown, or it might not get as deep. And the reason it isn't changing the brass here is I've coated that with an automotive clear coat, so that is pretty much impervious to the chemicals that I put on the adjoining metal here. These are little brass nails. They're called scutcheon nails. So now what I do is, this is how I affix the metal to the face of the paddle. And this is where I have really come to appreciate the paddles that I get from West Marine. The wood that is in this paddle is southern white pine. Pre-tap the holes with the another dental tool. I put these on the back of the paddle simply because otherwise the wire can sometimes scratch people's walls. I always put 2 hangers, 3 inches up from each end. They can be hung either way, vertical or horizontal. It's a great island to live on if you're an artist. And I did not come out here planning to be an artist. I came out here to walk the beach and to do things like that. And I think probably our biggest surprise was how accepting everybody is of the art community here. And it's a super place to live.
I am Kathy Schoenberg, and I'm a painter. There's something about the geography of being on an island that small. It's just right, really. It's not so small that you have everybody's nose in your business, but it is not that large that you get beyond caring for each other and being able to take care of each other. And that's, I think that's why Guemes is so loved. I started doing a lot of sketches some years ago, it must have been about 2013, 14. I started, actually it was in 2010. And I have stacks of books, sketchbooks that I filled out. And one time I started doing flowers. I was walking around at my friend's house and I did flowers. And I did more and more flowers, and they were not meant to be used for painting, but about 2014, I had just gotten the studio up here, and I could do really big paintings. And I decided I would just do some great big paintings of the sketches that I did, which were these big flowers. And that's about the only one I have left from that period of time. And I did this, I put the sketches on my projector, and the sketchbook is the exact size of it. So I could put it right on there, and I did that at first. I did them right from my drawings, and I used the paint kind of thin. And then I started getting more into the sort of a landscape behind the flowers in that particular one over there. And then during the pandemic, I took a lot of walks with my dog up in the forest lands up here, and then on the island at Dogwood. And I started drawing all the trees, and then I did some paintings like that of the trees there. Then I started drawing cats. I used to do all figurative paintings. They had to have a figure in them, or I couldn't do it without it. And then when I did the flowers, the figures kind of left. Now I'd kind of like to get some figures back in, so I'm starting with cats and dogs.
Diversity of art is what makes the island special. Whether there's a person behind a camera, humorous clay sculptures, beautiful glazes, complex and vibrant textile, fresh watercolor, or recycled materials, the results are stunning and often unexpected.